All right, man, peace. So, brothers, this is going to be volume 1 in a new series that I'm starting called Do Liberal Black Females Really Want to Be Black Men? And the first entry of this series is going to be starring Mr. Miss Lena Waithe, the now very famous screenwriter in Hollywood who just seems to be making appearances everywhere. And I don't quite think that the so-called black man quite understands the power of the energy that he emanates. We waste a lot of our natural power emissions on frivolity and nonsense without understanding how it should be properly utilized. So the other nations and the liberal black woman want to take our persona, take our energy, and utilize it for their own gain. A great example of that is Mr. Lena Waithe, as I call her, really Miss Lena Waithe, who clearly is suffering from some type of gender identity disorder. She wishes that she was a black man. As a so-called black man myself, I find her very insulting. What she basically is doing on an everyday basis in quote-unquote real life is playing black man blackface. She walks around trying to act as if she is a so-called black man. She dresses as if she is a so-called black man. She tries to speak for so-called black men. And she truly is the highest personification of the ludicrous hypocrisy of the liberal black woman when she tries to exude her racialist altar, as I call it. As I always state on this channel, the liberal black female has 3 altars, and 95 to 98% of all black females in Western society are liberal. They have 3 altars. The first altar is the racialist altar. The second altar is the globalist altar. And the third and most powerful altar is the feminist altar. And Mr. Lena Waithe, aka Lena Waithe, by customarily and repetitively appearing on national television in black man blackface, is truly trying to do is convey to the so-called black man that she intends to be your replacement. She is the new so-called black man. In her mind, she's smarter than you, she's more talented than you, she can communicate your plight better than you can, and she can deal with your woman better than you can. And she basically is able to operate at a very comfortable nexus point, and that she can act as if she's the personification of feminism and that she can do what she wants as a quote-unquote woman, and also try to take on the male energy and confound most of these pea-brained liberal black females out here into believing that not only is she a woman, but she's also a replacement for the so-called black man. Once again, every so-called black man should be incensed at the attempt by these quote-unquote black lesbians to replace you. Nobody can replace you. You are the original, you are the source, you were here at the beginning, and you're going to be here at the end. And someone like Lena Waithe, aka Lena Waithe, is trying to patronize you. She does not respect so-called black men. She's trying to use the plight of the so-called black man to garner attention for herself. That is all she's doing. That's why I liken her to a real-life Matt Damon from the film The Talented Mr. Ripley. If you've ever seen that film, Matt Damon plays a person who is extremely socially inept and inadequate, and he comes upon an extremely charismatic character played by Jude Law. And he's so infatuated with the character that Jude Law plays that he actually murders him so that he can try to take his place. And that is what the quote-unquote stud black lesbian is trying to do to the so-called black man. That is the greatest insult that you can receive as a man, that a female with sexual identity disorder is trying to replace you and then has the nerve to act as if she is you and speak on the issues that pervade the so-called black community concerning the so-called black man. So it's up to us to deal with that issue in due time and in order, decently and in order when that time comes. But first we have to work on ourselves, because there are too many perpetrators trying to stand in for us. And no one can replace us. No one ever has, and no one ever will. So Lena Waithe, aka Lena Waithe, sat down with the CBS Morning News crew to discuss the new film that she's making to try to once again capitalize on the issues that the so-called black man has to deal with the police force. A film called Queen and Slim. And this is a new naming convention that brothers have to watch out for. In Hollywood, they're so disdainful of manhood that films that star a man and a woman, in which the title shows a man and a woman, they're not going to have the female character in the film be the lead name. I mean, for goodness sakes, these people in Hollywood are so pathetic that they're doing a remake of Hansel and Gretel and calling the film Gretel and Hansel. I mean, come on now. This shit is so damn petty. And once again, this film is supposedly about the issues that the so-called black man has with the police force all across America. The plot is that they get pulled over by a police officer. One thing leads to another, and they end up murdering the police officer. Pay very close attention to how Mr. Lena Waithe, aka Lena Waithe, responds to the question from Gayle King and the rest of the CBS Morning News panel on what her perceptions are of the police. Listen to how irresponsible she is in her statements, knowing damn well that the issue with the police is mostly forwarded towards the so-called black man, is mostly concentrated on him because he's the threat. But she wants to be a black man so bad that she makes very inflammatory statements that, of course, she's not going to have to suffer the repercussions of, the so-called black man will. But anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Ma, I'm gay.
Now, as we all know, the term gay means happy or elated or jovial. So she's not gay. She's actually suffering from a gender identity disorder and a sexual identity disorder. I promise you, at some point in this person's childhood, something traumatic of a sexual nature happened to her. But she's being used as an agent of chaos in the mainstream theatrical industry, what we call the entertainment industry, to promote this life choice on the so-called black community. She's masquerading as a quote-unquote revolutionary, and she's anything but this sort. All she is someone who highly disrespects the image of the so-called black man. She believes that all it takes to be a so-called black man is to wear a hoodie and have a baseball cap on backwards. That's what she believes it means to be a black man, especially a man. Because these females today, the liberal female believes that you are replaceable, so-called black man.
You what? I'm gay. I've always been gay.
In other words, she's always had issues with her gender. She's always had issues with her sexual orientation, meaning the way that the Most High made her. She's trying to combat against that for whatever reason. Most likely because, once again, there may have been some type of disturbance that she was forced to live through as a child. There may have been some type of traumatic experience that she was forced to endure. So many of these celebrities have been sexually assaulted or sexually abused as children. That's how you know that a portal was opened up for certain spirits to come through and make them think that that life choice was okay. And the first thing that those spirits will do is block the traumatic event that happened so that they don't understand why they are how they are.
Mama does not look happy.
No.
In The Master of None, she co-wrote the episode loosely based on her life. It won her an Emmy for comedy writing, making Waithe the first.
That's all you have to do in Hollywood is come out in support of homosexuality and lesbianism, and they will start to exalt you. And basically, you can pick and choose the projects that you want to indulge in, engage in, participate in, what have you. Whether in front of the camera or behind the camera, they don't care. Once you publicly declare that you're a participant in the alternative lifestyle agenda, that you're a willing soldier to push that, promote that, normalize that, they're going to exalt you. Once again, the god of the entertainment industry is Pan, as well as Bacchus, as well as the mother goddess, but predominantly Pan. And as we all know, Pan deals with sexual fluidity. He also deals with pederasty. That's why Hollywood and the mainstream media will not talk about what Hollywood is doing to the young boys. All they're concerned about is what they're allegedly doing to the women. What you'll find, though, is that many of these elite level lesbians in Hollywood are doing the same things to women that they accuse Harvey Weinstein as well as Bill Cosby of doing. That being, you have to fuck in order to get on camera when you work with us. The Leonard Waithes, aka the Lena Waithes of the world, the Ava DuVernays, in order to get down with them, you have to get down with them, allegedly. Okay, but that is how they operate.
Black woman to receive the honor. Did it really happen like that, Lena, with your mom?
Yeah. She wasn't.
What?
She was not a happy camper at first, but then over time, things settled.
And she still loves you.
She still loves her.
She still loves you. So Lena also wrote the new movie Queen and Slim. It follows a black couple who's on their very first date.
Now, brothers, as we can see here, the film is starring Daniel Kaluuya, who we all know from the film Get Out, He was also in the first Sicario movie. The female who supposedly is playing the woman that he went on the first date with right before all of these events transpired, by the name of Jodie Turner-Smith. She is the personification of the modern day liberal black female and the energies that they try to portray in front of the camera as opposed to who they really are off camera. She's dating the Caucasian male who's known for being on Dawson's Creek back in the day, Joshua Jackson, who, for those of you brothers out there who don't know, has a fetish for black female actresses in Hollywood because he knows they're easy pickings. So many of these liberal black females have a high body count of non-black men. You'd be surprised, and yet they run on social media and on the internet and on comment boards bragging about how woke they are and how understanding they are of so-called black history. And that's because they want to post or position themselves as leaders due to the fact that they don't respect you, so-called black man. But pay very close attention to how this poster is laid out and what she's wearing. Once again, it's known as Queen and Slim. Queen is at the top, over the both of their heads. Slim is at the bottom. They're not even side by side. Queen at the top, Slim at the bottom. Also pay very close attention to how she's dressed. She has on the zebra print dress and the python print boots. So most likely she has submitted to the programming in some way, shape, or form, and is probably an MK beta sex kitten, as many of these actresses are. That's why I have very little doubt that in order for her to get into this film, she had to get down with Lena Waithe, aka Lena Waithe, allegedly.
Who accidentally kill a white police officer
and also, as we can see, the print is in yellow because the female represents the divine light, Aurora.
During a traffic stop. Lena Waithe joins us at the table. I want to get the backstory of how this came about, because you were having a conversation with James Fry, best-selling author. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He planted this little seed for you about this movie.
In other words, he told her what movie she should make next, which is normally what happens in Hollywood with so many of the quote-unquote black members of that inner circle or of that sphere. They get told what their movies should be about, what the next movie is going to entail. That's how they maintain their relevance.
He did. He came up to me at a party and he said, hey, I have an idea for a movie that I can't write.
Right after he said, Busta Rhymes, I love all your old albums. Woo-ha. I got you all in check.
He was like, it's a black man, black woman on a first date on their way home. Police officer pulls him over because things escalate very quickly and they kill him in self-defense. Yeah. And I said, and then they decide to just get in the car and go. And I was like, you're right, you can't write that.
But I can. I can. And you said, don't call.
Bullshit. The so-called white man could write that if he wants to write that. It's fictionalized. Because if we're just going to make it literal, she has no more of a right or a say in writing a story like that for a film like that than the Caucasian man does, because this is a black man's story. Brothers, please pay very close attention. In order for a black male director to write a film or to do a film on so-called black women, he would almost always have to have a black woman involved as a technical director, or the black woman will go out of her way to boycott the film, protest the film. When Tyler Perry did that movie for Colored Girls, he had to make sure that the black woman that wrote that toxic piece of trash was on hand as a technical advisor. Who was technically advising Lena Waithe on what the thoughts of a so-called black man would be at that time? That she believed that she could tell the white man who gave her the idea that he couldn't make that movie, but yet she could. Other than the fact that deep down she believes that she's a so-called black man, or that she's actually better than a so-called black man.
Bonnie and Clyde story, because your go-to, you would think, is Bonnie and Clyde. You said, not this time.
No, and I did revisit that film before I started writing.
Of course you did, to steal the ideas.
I'm on Louise as well, but I think almost the things that I wanted to sort of break those rules and break convention and sort of put people of color in the center of the narrative, and that, you know, we are in a war that we didn't start.
Right.
Lena Waithe, are you sure about that? Do you believe that you're enough of a historian on so-called black history to know who started the war and where the antipathy actually evolved from? Do you know that we had them in deep, dark slavery during the Middle Ages? Do you know that we had them in servitude under very notable figures? Do you know that we called them villains and serfs and Slavs? And we used to make leather gloves out of their skin. Do you know that? There are many elements of history that are hidden because They want the so-called black man to believe that he only came over here to America as a slave on slave ships from the west coast of Africa. They will not tell you about many of the kingdoms and the empires of medieval Europe. But that's neither here nor there. The job of Lena Waithe is to once again push the victimization mentality, because that is always what the woman is going to resort to, because deep down, underneath all of their bluster, they know that they are servants. And this might offend certain people, but the term wife means servant. The term woman means servant. She's here to be a servant unto her man. Her man is supposed to love her, cherish her, respect her, but she does act as a helpmeet to the man. That is why they're not fit to lead any type of rebellion or revolution. The woman, no matter what she states overtly, is always going to seek the acceptance of the men in power, no matter what race they are. So that's why you cannot marvel at the women of your race if they always view the so-called white man as the paragon of a husband or the paragon of virtue in a society. The so-called liberal black woman knows where her bread is buttered. She's never going to lead a full-on revolt ideologically or physically against this system and this society, because they know where they have their bread buttered. They understand that they can turn to the white man's police force, his education system, his job market to seek succor, to seek assistance, to seek help. But they'll get on TV and ramble on about oppression and cultural appropriation and this and that, because they have to play both sides when it comes to the racialist aspect. In reality, they have very little respect for the so-called black man, and that's primarily because we have not sought our power from where it's the most beneficial, that being the Most High. We keep listening to the so-called liberal black woman as she tells us about quote-unquote black love and black power and black girl magic. They're trying to cast spells on you, so-called black man. That's why they're constantly inundating you with this nonsense about black girl magic. They're trying to keep you enraptured by these MK handlers known as liberal black women, the ones in your home that you call baby mamas. You're wondering why she doesn't listen to you. Is because she doesn't have to. She has one master, and that is the ruler of this system. He allows her to do whatever the hell she wants to. If she wants to dress up like a man, go ahead and do so. If she wants to tattoo her neck and the top of her breasts, go ahead and do so. If you want to get on TV and ramble on and make no sense, go ahead and do that too. But what you don't have to do, you don't have to be a wife to your man. And they're never going to be a true wife to you, so-called black man, until we turn back to the Most High and tell them what they're doing wrong and what we're not going to tolerate. But we can't do that until we understand where we're supposed to go. So that's why you have characters like Lena Waithe on television, or Lena Waithe, I should say. Person making no sense, has no idea what the hell they're talking about, and trying to push that victimization mentality on the so-called black man. She does not believe that the black man is a king, no matter what they say. Most of these liberal black broads do not believe that. They have to see it to believe it. They just talk a good game because that's part of their attention mongering. White people this, white people that. The white man is oppressing us. No, the white man's not oppressing you. You as a liberal black woman, she can get on TV looking like Busta Rhymes today. Tomorrow, if she wants to femme it up, she can sew a damn wig or weave into her head. Go work as a secretary in Midtown Manhattan, making a livable wage. The so-called black man cannot do that.
Like black people, when they walk out their door, they go to war every day.
Yeah.
And they have to decide, what black person do I want to show up as this morning? Do I want to be MLK? Do I want to be Malcolm X?
People know you as...
Once again, this is another aspect of the racialist portrayal that the liberal black woman tries to put forth. She loves talking about people like Malcolm X. I promise you, Malcolm X will not approve of your life choice. I promise you that. It's easy to act like you're aligned with someone when they've passed away. A lot like these church liberal black women who talk about how Christ is their husband. If Christ was on the earth, he would sharply rebuke you for how you dress, for how you carry yourself, for the lack of respect that you have for your own femininity, for the fact that you love to abort your own children, destroying your own race of people. That's what he would thoroughly rebuke you for. And he certainly will not accept someone who's cross-dressing on television like Lena Waithe is doing.
But you think of yourself at heart as a writer.
Yeah, I'm definitely a writer first.
Yeah,
sure.
So when someone drops something like this in your lap, what do?
I immediately
try to figure out how I can craft a bullshit script that overtly looks like is pro-black, but subliminally is pro-black woman and lesbianism. That's the point of every script that she writes at its core. Overtly, we're trying to push the fake pro-blackness, but subliminally, we're trying to push the superiority of the black woman over everyone else. We have to worship the divine feminine of the black woman and our ability to be chameleons. If I want to look like a man today, I can.
And I just thought, if two black people killed a police officer, they would instantly become heroes.
Yeah.
I think because of the relationship that black people have had with police officers.
Now, brothers, did you hear that? She stated on national television that if two black people were to kill a police officer, they would immediately become heroes. And to a degree, that's true. For woke blacks will look at two black people killing a police officer and they would say, great job. Now, if you're an intelligent person, you would try to investigate the story. Was that cop attacking two black people who were innocent and they were just defending themselves? Or were those two black people committing a crime and he was trying to stop the crime and they shot him? She does not make a distinction because she's trying to score woke points on television. And she's making a very irresponsible statement for something that I'm pretty sure she's never lived through. Most of these woke black women have never had a poor interaction with the police. As a matter of fact, most black women, and as we know, most black women are liberal, they love the police. They love to call the cops on their man if the man even looks at them wrong. They love to call the cops when the man's not paying child support. They love to call the cops when the man raises his voice. So let's not act like the police are an enemy to black women. They are not. Now, can we find altercations between black women and the police? Absolutely. I have news for you. We can find altercations on the internet between the police and white women, the police and women of every race. If you search hard enough, you can find everything. But I promise you, the police are not an enemy to the so-called black woman and really never have been. They've always been more of an ally than an enemy to them. Once again, the man is the threat, not the woman. The woman will never be the threat. And that's why they love to push and promote this energy of the black queen, the black woman is God, black girl magic. They're trying to create this energy of allure around the woman so that young black men, black boys, or grown simp dudes will constantly look to them for leadership. The white man already knows I have the black woman under my thumb. So if the black man looks to her for leadership, that means that he's looking to me for leadership.
Over the course of time, I don't think of black people thinking
they would become heroes. You said.
I thought so.
Even Gayle King understood the idiocy of what she said. That's why she asked the question again. Are you telling me that if two black people killed a cop, that black people will look at those two black people as heroes? I'm sorry, I I don't think so. And I'm sure that wokey wokes and pro-blackities on my channel will say, what are you talking about? Yes, we would. Look at all the things that the police have done to us. Brothers, either you're going to lead a revolution or you're not. For all you revolutionary cats out there who try to act as if every single cop is your enemy, I have no problem with the revolutionary mindset as long as that's who you are. But the internet revolutionary shit, talking nonsense and everybody's a coon and every cop is your enemy and all the fear mongering and the self-victimization, that shit is not going to lead our people anywhere. And people like Lena Waithe here, aka Lena, she's trying to play on that. She's trying to mimic what she thinks you would say.
That just instantly sort of, that's what I thought. I was like, if I heard a story about that, I would wonder, like, oh man, what was that about? Like, why did they do that?
No, that's not what you said. What you said was, most black people, if they heard a story about two black people killing a police officer, they pretty much will co-sign that. They pretty much will look at those two people like heroes. So I'm pretty sure that your film is probably going to be more anti-authority propaganda. Our people have to learn to embrace authority, not to come against authority. And I'm sure that cats right now will say, what are you talking about? Are you trying to say our people should always support the cops no matter what they do? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that our people have to learn to appreciate order. Number one, in the household, the man has to be the head. And I'm not talking about order from a superficial perspective. I'm talking about that trickle down, that sense of hierarchy. The reason why a lot of people bristle when I say that so-called black people need their own police force is because we do not respect the so-called black man as an administrator. We don't respect him and his abilities to interpret the law and treat people fairly. That's why when I do judge shows, I always use Judge Mathis, because he's a so-called black man. I have a lot of dudes who come on my channel, oh, you should use divorce court. You know why they say that? Because number one, they think that the court cases will be very salacious and I'll be able to talk about women and men and all that other shit. But they don't understand divorce court is led by a female judge. So if that's not occurring to you when you watch that show, that means that your mind is not in the right place. A lot of cats have been programmed to look to women for leadership. And when I say cats, I'm talking about you brothers in the so-called black community. A lot of you guys are always looking to a woman to be your head.
Like, we as, particularly I think black people, have to create the heroes that we need. And I think that
the heroes that we need are already there. We don't have to create them. They're called fathers. The main thing that so-called black men have to do is choose the right woman to procreate with. And you're already a hero right there. Because as long as you're doing your job, providing for your children, providing for your family, those are the heroes that we need. Not someone on a movie screen or a TV screen that was created from the mind of some black lesbian who stole the idea from a white man. There's nothing that Lena Waithe is going to do to solve the issues in the so-called black community. She's already mentally disturbed.
Because when I was a young person and I would see police officers and during the civil rights movement, they would be hosing people down and they'd be...
Really? This person is so bugged out of her damn mind. She said when she was a young person and during the civil rights movement, police would be hosing people down. I would love to see the video of police hosing people down when you were a young person. All of a sudden, she tried to interconnect when she was young with the civil rights movement. That's how you know this person is lying. She's sitting on TV making shit up, trying to act as if she's a black man who's been the victim of interactions with the police. I promise you, she's never had a bad interaction with the police, never in her fucking life. Because once again, she's not even a threat enough for the police to profile her. She wishes that she was, as do most quote unquote woke black women. They're frustrated that the police don't even take them seriously enough to view them as a threat, so they have to play the racialist card to get attention on TV and act as if they're speaking up for black men. If you're that concerned about black men and black boys, stop aborting so many black babies.
And batons. So for me, when you're in school and they say the police officer is your friend, as a young black person, I don't know.
You said that's not really my experience. You say.
What do you hope people take away from this film?
You know, whatever they bring to it. I think as an artist, I don't know if it's my job to give people answers. It's my job to ask questions and to show us ourselves, so that.
In other words, you have no solutions, and I'm not even frustrated or upset by that, because this person's not supposed to have any solutions. Number one, she's a woman. She's a two-dimensional thinker. I mean, for the most part, that's what most women are. Are there exceptions? Yes, but she's certainly not one. She has sexual identity issues, gender identity issues. This is a functioning nut job that they put on TV and that they use to try to normalize this shit in the black community. We're supposed to come up with the answers. Her movie is to push a certain energy. I promise you, if you go to see that film, and I might go to see it just to review it on either on Patreon or on YouTube or wherever, I promise you, if you go to see that movie, it's going to have two separate messages. The overt message, or the superliminal message, is going to be cops bad, black people always come against authority, do what you have to do, start a fake revolution that has no end game. The subliminal message is going to be black woman smart, black man emotional, black woman thinker, black man reactor, black woman lead, black woman head, black man tail. That's going to be the subliminal message of that film, Queen and Slim. That's why, once again, I wanted to bring to brothers' attention how they laid out the title of the film. Queen at the top and Slim at the bottom. They didn't even put the and after Queen. They had to put the and in front of the Slim to let you know he's not on equal terms. He's an afterthought.
We can sort of come to terms with who we are as a society.
You're
Well, you have not even come to terms with your gender. So how could you come to terms with anything else? How could you tell people to come to terms with anything else? You're not even comfortable being a woman.
You're a director and someone you've worked with before on the Master of None show, Lena Waithe.
Yeah.
Lena Waithe, for those of you who don't know, that's another angry mulatto woman. She has a Caucasian father, so-called black mother. And she's also the director on that other toxically feminine show on HBO that's produced by Issa Rae called Insecure. You'll always see all these same females popping up everywhere because it's really, for those of you who don't know, there's a black lesbian coven in Hollywood that's led by Oprah, and at the top of the pyramid, once again, is Oprah, Ava DuVernay, Issa Rae is climbing the ladder, King Latifah, aka Queen Latifah, Lena Waithe, aka Lena Waithe, so on and so forth. All those chicks are sexually fluid. They all go both ways. All of them. Regina King, all those broads that you could think of. What's this other one they're pushing? Tiffany Haddish. Of course, Jada Pinkett. They're all sexually fluid. They all worship the quote-unquote divine mother goddess.
Call this a protest film.
Yeah.
Is that something you would use as well?
I mean, I think of it as protest art. I know Nina Simone said it is an artist's duty to reflect the times. And I believe that I'm doing that. I'm reflecting the times in which we live. I do believe it's open season on black bodies.
This person said it's open season on black bodies. You mean so-called black men? Because it's not open season on the so-called black woman. And by no means am I saying that the so-called black woman is not the recipient of racism. Absolutely, the so-called black woman is. But to even try to compare the level of threat between the black woman and the black man is not even an approximation. And that's why if you pay very close attention, look at right now the propensity of Hollywood to create TV shows and movies where the black woman is seen as the quote-unquote threat to the end of this society. She's the person who is the divine mother. She's going to have the baby that's going to end this society. She has to be protected at all costs. You know, there are people trying to attack her. I remember there was a film that came out a few years ago starring Clive Owen. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I think it was titled Children of Men, in which his job was to protect the last black girl who could get pregnant. Now, of course, we know that the black woman is a personification of Eve. But if there's no Adam, there's no life. Adam and Eve must come together to bring life. So they're trying to relegate the so-called black man as an afterthought because they know that all women are under the subjection of whichever men and whatever men are in power. That's why, like I always state in so many of these videos, they push the mother goddess stuff on the masses. At the elite level, it's always men. And of course, since the so-called white man is in power right now, particularly the so-called Caucasian Jew, they're the ones who preside over everything. But they teach this woman worship stuff to the masses, especially so-called black people, because the black man is the key.
I look at the news every day and hear you guys tell stories about black unarmed people that have been killed by police officers, and then a week
disproportionate
later, absolutely, and then a week later you report that the police officer is back on the force. It's very traumatic.
Well, the real issue right now is that the so-called black man has no control over his own household. But black women love to talk about police officers killing unarmed black people because it takes attention away from the fact that the so-called black woman does not want the so-called black man as her head, no matter what they say. Are there exceptions to that rule? Absolutely. But in general, the woman, period, but especially the so-called black woman, does not want the so-called black man as her head. And as long as they keep talking about the race stuff, we don't get to the real conversations. Because we have to destroy that feminist mindset. All these things have to be toppled. But it's going to be such a series of traumatic events that are going to force the paradigm shift that will put the so-called black man back in power, that by the time that happens, most of these people going to be finished, man.
It's very traumatizing for me. Every time
watching you on TV is traumatizing to me. Watching you try to act and look like a so-called black man is traumatizing to me. It's also demeaning for you and your attempt to demean me and other so-called black men. And it's pathetic.
I think for some people it's just a news story, but whenever I see a name come across the screen, a part of me dies.
You said that
it must be a very small part because you're still alive.
Black artists, you take tragedies and make them beautiful.
Yeah, I don't think we have a choice. I think black people have been making beauty out of misery for decades.
I think that so-called black people have been making beauty from themselves since the beginning of time. It's just the nature of our people to create something out of nothing. But I'm not interested in the violin game. Who can play the violin the best of misery and self-victimization and self-pity? But she knows what she's doing because she knows who she's marketing her films to. She's marketing her films to woke Negroes on the internet who love to hear that type of bullshit. I come from slaves. All we do is come from slaves. We have no real history before America. And if we try to act as if we know our history is some blackety black stuff just out of Africa, and we're here now, and white man, would you give us a hug? And how come you won't support our movie? And how come you won't support us? White man, please feel guilty because we want you to love us. That's basically what it comes down to.
And I think that's our superpower.
But you're not calling this an anti-cop film, are you?
No.
Yeah.
Because when people see the film, they'll see that just like black people aren't a monolith, neither are police.
Exactly.
You know, and
so then why would you make a statement like if you heard a story about two black people killing an officer, you would look at them as heroes? Why would you make a statement like that? Why would you say that? That makes no sense. That's extremely irresponsible if you're actually trying to market the film to more than one audience.
all very layered. But I do think that when black people see that police uniform, it represents something that can be scary, that can be dangerous.
I'm not quite sure about that unless you're pushing that fear onto your children, onto your sons, which a lot of our people love to do. I find it far more scary to see someone like you who's in a man's uniform, because that means that you basically have infiltrated our people and you're spreading your poison to our children. That's a far bigger problem than the police. The biggest problem right now is the liberal black woman. No doubt about it. Well, actually, the biggest problem is the so-called black man does not have his head on straight. But the biggest problem that we'll have to deal with is the liberal black woman, because most of them are not going to change, brothers. All right? Most of them, their judgment is going to come. It's going to be very harsh and it's going to be very traumatic. It's going to take a traumatic event to get them to understand what their role is, which is as a wife and a mother. Not on TV, trying to look like Busta Rhymes with a new haircut.
And it could be the end of your life.
You also call it, it's a first for you, writing.
Yes.
It's a first for Melina, directing, and it's a first for the lead actress.
Yeah.
Were you scared to have so many firsts on one project for something that's so big?
You know, I wasn't.
No, she wasn't scared because the lead actress did what she was supposed to do. She went carpet munching to get the damn role. And once again, she's dating Joshua Jackson, the alum from Dawson's Creek. That dude just runs through all these little black broads in Hollywood and everywhere else. Those are the same chicks that want to tell you about race and write paragraph upon paragraph on Instagram and Twitter and all this other shit, trying to act like they're going to break down black issues and what everybody needs to do and white people this and white people that, but you got the white man's dick in your mouth. So, I mean, I can't trust what you're talking about, man. Out of here. Not that I would anyway.
I think I believed in us. And I believed in our ability to tell this story in our native tongue. You know, I always say that black people have a broken English too. Like it's a little bit of Southern, a little bit of city, and a little dash of slavery.
All right,
And Brittany,
Where do these niggas make this shit up at? A little bit of Southern, a little bit of city, and a dash of slavery. Oh boy. Brothers, once again, unfortunately our people have no real culture, so they just start making shit up on the fly off the top of their heads. It's up to us to reinstill certain cultural mores, and that's when you're going to see these people get revealed. A lot of you guys are dating liberal black women, you don't even know it. You're thinking that the girl that you're with she's so woke and she's so cultural and this and that. Let you start to indulge in and immerse yourself in a real culture. Watch how quickly that liberal female starts to reveal herself and pull away from you, because they're only dealing with surface level shit. They're not into anything of depth.
And great music. The music track, Lena.
Oh my gosh.
Lena Waithe, thank you so much. Queen and Slim is in theaters November 27th. Before we go...
But anyway, that's basically it on that, brothers. Always understand the power of the energy that you have. Everyone else wants it. Particularly the quote-unquote feminist woman. They want to be you. They don't want to be equal to you. They want to be you. All right? Particularly people like Lena Waithe here. She wishes that she was a so-called black man. So once the so-called black man starts to embrace who he is and confronts this person, as much as liberal black females love to fearmonger about the police on television, when they're on television, I should say, you know who it is that the so-called black man has an even greater fear of confronting than the police? It's the liberal black woman, especially people like Lena Waithe. When's the last time that you saw a so-called black man confront someone like her and say, stop dressing up like me, dress like a woman, and knock the bullshit off? The so-called black man has been convinced that he should be scared of homosexuals and lesbians and telling them the truth. Some of that is starting to, to wane a little bit, especially when you see people like Dave Chappelle speak about the LGBTQ or whatever the hell they call themselves. Brothers are starting to wake up, but stuff like this is an offense to the so-called black man.